Lieutenant General Majid Hassan to deliver his opening remarks. Sir, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rana Ehsan Afzal Saab, the chief guest of today's ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues and friends, Assalamu alaikum, and very warm welcome to Islamabad Public Policy Research Institute. Today we gather here not only to celebrate the launch of a book, but to begin a much needed conversation on the future of Pakistan. The book, titled Economy, Backbone of National Security, comes to us at a moment when the linkage between economic resilience and national strength can no longer be ignored. For too long, ladies and gentlemen, we have thought of national security in terms of weapons, borders, forces, and diplomacy. Yet, beneath all these very important factors lies the truth which we sometimes overlook. A nation is only as secure and as safe as its economy allows it to be. This book makes that truth undeniable. It reminds us that economic fragility is not an abstract concern. It is the fault line that shapes everything else. Our ability to defend our territory, to project influence abroad, and to provide stability at home. What sets this work apart is its interdisciplinary character. It is the product of three very different but complementary minds. Dr. Anil Salman, an economist who has placed Pakistan's experience with global debates on resilience. Dr. Steve Bremen, a political and security analyst with decades of expertise. And Mr. Rex Moser, a diplomat who has seen statecraft in action over continents. Together, they have produced not only another academic study, but a framework of reimagining what national strength means in 21st century. I would like to particularly thank our American editors, one of whom we had the honor of hosting at IPRI in the recent past, for their generosity, intellectual rigor, and solidarity in shaping this volume. But this book is more than the vision of three editors. It's a collective enterprise, bringing together voices from across disciplines, sectors, and generations. The table of content itself speaks of its diversity, from economic vulnerabilities and investment dynamics to banking resilience, climate security, blue economy, cyber and digital challenges, cryptocurrency, and strategic cooperation framework with neighbors and global partners. This launch, therefore, is more than ceremonial. It is a beginning of a dialogue that will continue in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, or even in Washington. It's a statement to the world that Pakistan does not see itself only as a recipient of ideas, but as a contributor and creator to the global conversation on economic security. Let us then take this movement not just as a launch, but as a beginning. If we are to secure our sovereignty, our dignity, and our future, we must first secure our economy. That is the challenge before us, and that is the opportunity this book places in our hands. In the end, I would like to felicitate the editors, writers, and publishers of this very educative and informative work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our editor and author of the book, Dr. Anil Salman. Dr. Anil Salman holds the prestigious OGDCL IPRI Chair Economic Security at Islamabad Policy Research Institute. A distinguished international economist, he specializes in monetary resilience, macroeconomic stability, behavioral economics, transnational trade dynamics, and strategy-driven policy design. He is also at the forefront of national effort to shape first national Pakistan artificial intelligence policy. His research, cited for his analytical rigor and policy relevance, has directly influenced strategic planning across key public institutions. Sir, please.
Thank you very much, Shiraz. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with an anecdote. This is November 2017, and South Asian Economic Summit was happening in Nepal. And I was participating, representing Pakistan as an economist, and we were having dinner, and on the table there was Rana Afzal Saab, your father. And we were catching up, he was sharing about his military tenure for a short while, then about his business ventures and how he was dealing at about the economy at that time. And when he saw that my work is in economics, and guess what, he started talking about you. That, okay, my son, he's a very good economist, and he's helping me in the business, and if I take the liberty, he used to call you Sonny. And after 7 years, today we are standing here, and I am quite fortunate that I have Rana Saab's son coming here for the launch of this book ceremony. Fast forwarding, let's come to 2019. COVID hits. And this is where it wasn't the armies that saved the nations. It was supply chains, hospitals, and the economies that either stood firm or buckled under pressure. Borders did not stop the virus. Weapons did not stop shortages. What mattered was whether our economies were resilient enough to keep the people safe. This is when the world learned, sometimes painfully, that the greatest threat to the national security is economic fragility. So when we say economy is the backbone of national security, this is not a slogan. It is a reality, and this book, the work of 17 chapters, 14 authors from Pakistan and beyond, is our attempt to capture the reality in full. Now the question is, why this book? And why now? For too long, Pakistan's economic debates have been reactive. Bailouts, firefighting, short-term fixes. But stabilization in 2025 has given us the breathing space. It is a window, not a finish line, and the windows do not stay open forever. This is why we wrote this book, to say the time for firefighting is over. The time for building resilience has arrived. And resilience means more than numbers. It means farmers who can plant without fear. Small businesses can grow. Youth can innovate. And women who can lead. And what makes this volume different is not the urgency, but the breadth. Economists, bankers, technologists, security experts, diplomats, all speaking in one voice. My co-editors, Dr. Steve Brayman, an American political scientist, and Rex Musa, our US diplomat, brought the global rigor. Our contributors, from Zafar Masood Saab to Dr. Usman Chauhan, from Air Marshal Arai to young scholars MBS, not Mohammed bin Salman, but my team, Munib, then Basit and Shiraz, gave it depth. Together, they show the economic security is not a chapter in national security. It is the spine that holds the book together. Let us bring this closer to our home. How many of you have worried about job security? How many of you are worried about the rising pricing? Are you worried that whether your children are going to have better lives in future or not? And if you are already worried, this is about national security. Because if households are insecure, the nation cannot be secure. Ladies and gentlemen, in this book, you will find ideas that is going to surprise you. The wars of tomorrow won't be fight with tanks, but with tariffs, sanctions, and algos. Every flood, drought, heat wave redraws our economic map more than a boundary dispute. Pahalgam shows the cost of perpetual hostility. The real test for Pakistan and India is whether they can compete in prosperity rather than bleed in conflict. These are not academic lines, they are alarms. And yet, this book is not about the despair. It is about possibility. It maps how Pakistan can seize artificial intelligence, biotech, green energy, and digital trade to turn fragility into leadership. It argues that CPEC, Gwadar, and regional trade are not just projects, but levers of sovereignty. It insists that resilience must belong not to elite enclave, but to every citizen. And as our President, Lieutenant General Majid Hasan was right when he said, a nation is only as secure as its economy allows it to be. I want to pause to thank my wife, only one, and the first one, Sarah. Editors are not easy people to live with. She has been in this project to shape late into night countless drafts and always reminded me that books are not just words, they are commitments. Without her patience and faith, my voice in this work would not be whole. Then I would also like to thank our colleagues, our authors who have traveled all the way from Lahore. Iqdar Sahab, he just traveled 6 o'clock in the morning and made right on time. Then the designer, Miss Salia. Then our videographer, Saad, who actually brought life into this book. And just after this note, you are going to see that in the visual. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today is not just the launch of this book. It is the beginning of the national conversation. A conversation that do not ask that whether Pakistan can recover, it is about Pakistan can lead. If we secure our economy, we secure our sovereignty, our dignity, our future. And if we fail, nothing else will hold. This is the challenge, and this is the opportunity. And my answer, and my hope, yours, is a resounding yes. Thank you very much.
आई थिंक इस वीडियो को देखने के बाद क्लैप तो बनता है सबके लिए. Sir, thank you very much, and I'm hopeful and optimistic that Pakistan will lead, inshallah. Now, to bring out the true essence of this book, I would now like to invite authors to shed light on its significance. Ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker of the book is Mr. Siddique Humayun, who has contributed a chapter on cyber economic security, the digital nexus of vulnerabilities. He is the Director of Advocacy and Communication at Islamabad Policy Research Institute and holds an MS in Journalism from Columbia University. Sir, please.
Assalamu alaikum. It's always hard to fill the big shoes of Dr. Anil right after his very good speech and that animated video. President IPRI, Honorable Chief Guest, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning, esteemed colleagues. I was honored by Dr. Anil to participate in this very interesting book, Economy Backbone of National Security. And my chapter is Cybersecurity and Economic Security, the Digital Nexus of Vulnerability. I'm sure once you read it, you will see that there's a certain message that echoes in all of these chapters, and that is to be proactive rather than reactive. As I said, it is an honor to stand before you. I will briefly talk about what I wrote, and I hope that it kind of makes sense to everybody. So Pakistan's population, which is over 240 million people, 240 million of us, and a robust IT sector is deeply invested in the transformation that is information technology. We are witnessing the digital revolution permeate every sector of our economy, from finance and banking to telecommunications and energy. This transformation promises unprecedented productivity, global connectivity, and new avenues for development and growth. However, this profound benefit comes with inherent risks and formidable challenges, and these are some of the challenges that I have tried to highlight in my chapter. Paradoxically, the thread of information technology from its origin of Zeus Z3, the first computer in 1941, made by Conrad Zuse, named after himself, to today's AI revolution, reveals that connectivity is both our strongest and weakest link. As our economy becomes more digital, our exposure to cybersecurity threats become more imminent, with attacks increasing in number, sophistication, and frequency. At its core, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting data, networks, and systems from digital attacks or unauthorized access. Its primary goal is not just user privacy, which we would like to believe, but ensuring what we call the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data, of course. Confidentiality means keeping data secret through access controls, encryption, multi-factor authentication, and there are many other ways. Integrity obviously ensures that data is authentic and trustworthy, preventing tampering that could lead to reputational and monetary damages. But a data that is confidential and it has integrity will be useless if it is unavailable. So availability also becomes a part of this triad, which ensures that authorized users, and not anybody and everybody, can access data when needed, preventing disruptions like those caused by DDoS attacks, for example, and people who are aware of cybersecurity would know what DDoS is, distributed denial of service attacks, which are very hard to counter. So in Pakistan, our cyber landscape faces significant vulnerabilities that can be categorized into three distinct areas: technological weaknesses, institutional challenges, and the human factor. And I'll briefly talk about all three, very briefly. Technological weaknesses includes the widespread use of outdated software or non-existent encryption and insecure Internet of Things devices. आजकल आपके हर एक के पास smart devices हैं, शायद Google Home पड़ा होगा, Alexa पड़ा होगा, just listening to you, whatever you're saying. And I've tried this personally. I've tried to talk about a certain topic, made sure that I do not search about it so it doesn't come into my algorithm. Even then in the morning, I see the ads of the same thing. So I don't know how that's happening. And I do know a few things about cybersecurity, but I don't know. So That's technological weaknesses. Institutional challenges. We grapple with a fragmented policy framework in Pakistan, a lack of unified strategy and coordination between public and private sectors, and insufficient investment in cybersecurity research and development. This is what one of the biggest problems in institutional challenges. And the human factor. This encompasses negligent or malicious insiders. लाजमी नहीं है कि कोई जानबूझ के कर रहा हो, गलती से भी हो जाता है. This all falls in the human factor. And a pervasive lack of cybersecurity awareness. I think 99% of us have passwords that include the numbers 123 or 786. और exclamation mark डाल देते हैं. वो जब कहता है कि एक special character भी होना चाहिए, अब क्या डालें, exclamation mark डाल दो. These are very easy to break just by being a little intelligent. I was just thinking today that my Gmail password is more than 26 characters long. It has all sorts of capital, small, special characters. I don't know how I remember it. It's just there. So it's hard to crack. So the longer it is, the difficult it becomes to crack. So phishing scams are also a thing that can come under the human factor. And phishing is where attackers impersonate legitimate entities to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information. This is particularly common in Pakistan. You will see emails or you'll see a page that looks like Gmail's login page, and you'll think that you're logging into Gmail, and you'll just give your password and log in away, and the attacker will get it. I think this has been going on for more than 2 decades. We've seen the impact of these vulnerabilities. Attacks on entities like the Pakistan Stock Exchange. Huge financial losses could have been incurred. Nadra, very sensitive data. It has been attacked. And private banks. If you go on the dark web, I've been explaining this to a few people recently, that I went to the dark web just to check what is available. And there is a person offering his services to hack anyone. Anyone's bank account, anyone's phone, anyone's anything and everything for a mere $250 in cryptocurrency. And he asks for the money after he has done the attack, not first. He says that if you do not pay me the money, I'll hack you as well. So, it is there. So, it has an ability to undermine financial markets and the privacy of millions of people. While the types of cyber threats vary, I'd like to briefly talk about a few. Malware, which is just malicious software, malware. Ransomware, where you encrypt something and then you demand ransom to decrypt it, sort of like kidnapping a child. And DDoS attacks. And then there are man-in-the-middle attacks, where somebody sneaks in the middle and tries to intercept the data you're sending to somebody else. SQL injections used to be a very common hacking method when I was a child. Anybody could hack into databases, and my elder brother is sitting here, Ali Humayun. He's very capable when it comes to hacking. And I can assure you that he's my elder brother, but I do not accept a single file that he sends me because of this risk. It is crucial to remember that relatively unsophisticated methods like SQL injection and basic methods, as I've explained in. अभी तो मैं शुरू हुआ था. चलिए, जल्दी करते हैं. So in the book chapter, I've explained an attack called the Night Dragon attack. McAfee ने इसके ऊपर एक white paper लिखा था in 2009, and उसमें बहुत सारी ये Shell की company और बहुत सारी energy companies को hack किया गया, and it was all done using very unsophisticated methods of hacking. SQL injection या वैसे ही phishing scams या man in the middle. उसमें कोई sophisticated hacking tools use नहीं हुए थे, but millions of dollars were lost. So I'll try to be very quick. Moving on, Pakistan is making strides to address these challenges. In 2021, Cybersecurity Policy, a comprehensive document, laid the groundwork for our first Cyber Governance Policy Committee and a 3-tiered CERT system. CERT क्या है? Cyber Emergency Response Team. वो एक national level पे बन चुकी है, PK CERT. इस policy के तहत now we are going to have it in a 3-tiered system. National CERT, PK CERT जिसको कह रहे हैं, then organizational level पे भी होगी और provincial level पे भी होगी. This became operational in 2024. Furthermore, Pakistan's cloud-first policy, introduced in 2022, is a step towards leveraging cloud computing for reduced costs and enhanced data security. However, much remains to be done. We face resource constraints, both in monetary terms and trained human capital, leading to a mindset that is often reactionary rather than proactive. ये बात हम कर चुके हैं. As of today, there is still no consistent process for detecting and responding to cyber attacks based on global best practices, nor are there regular penetration tests or vulnerability assessments on government servers. And my brother would attest to this, that penetration testing is very important. We don't do that regularly. Looking ahead, the future of cybersecurity presents inexplicable challenges. The rapid progress in artificial intelligence and quantum computing means that technologies like Google's Willow is a step in quantum computing, and it did a calculation in 5 minutes, which today's fastest supercomputers would take 10 septillion years to calculate. That is 10 followed by 24 zeros. That is much longer than the age of the universe. And that Google's quantum computer in the making has solved in 5 minutes. So what that means is that once it becomes functional, it will render today's encryption obsolete. Anything and everything that we think is encrypted and safe will no longer be safe. It will be as open as anything. So there are agencies called the National Institute of Standards and Technologies in the US, which have made new encryption algorithms, but that remains to be seen how effective they would be. So in the end, I would just like to say that to safeguard our economy and national security, we need 2-3 things. One is a unified legal framework and strategy, significant investment in cybersecurity skills, research and development, widespread capacity building workshops, training seminars, and hackathons, which sometimes do happen in Islamabad, to create national awareness and foster an intelligent workforce capable of withstanding global challenges. And the technological surge we are witnessing is a double-edged sword. Nations that spearhead this revolution will lead the world. Pakistan must not shy away from investing in these emerging technologies, not just to secure our digital borders, but to future-proof ourselves against threats that may develop in the coming years, rendering our current understanding of cybersecurity obsolete. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker of the book is Dr. Khurram Elahi from Pakistan Institution of Development Economics, who has contributed a chapter titled Echoes of I and Those, Pakistan's Fragmented Identity and its Security Implication. Sir.
मैं उर्दू में गुफ्तगू करूँगा, गो के चैप्टर अंग्रेज़ी में लिखा हुआ है. मईशत को या इकोनॉमिक्स को बार बार मैथ से आज़ाद करने की कोशिशें मैं करता रहता हूँ. And I'm very glad that Dr. Anil Salman accepted my work for the book. So one major thing which I quoted in the book was from Fichte when he said the greatest vocation of mankind is to qualify for the idea of I amness. So the whole idea of price and inflation and demand and diamonds is nothing if you remove the idea of man, the consciousness. And this idea is so central when we academically, we learned people sit together and we talk about man as something really poor, something really weak, something really commodifiable. So this book looks back from a very national perspective of a country of 25 crore people who are living without an idea of I amness. Like, who are they? They're not in market. They qualify to be called as something much more sacred or prestigious than that. So we just took an effort. What if we all get rich and we're still unknown? That would be more scariest place to be at, that we all are rich and we are so vulnerable that we don't have any identity to look at. तो मैंने डॉक्टर अनील से कहा कि एक थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा स्पेकुलेटिव काम होगा, यकीनन मईशत की रल में होगा. तो कहा जाता है कि कायनात का सबसे आम काम ये था कि हमने आय और नॉन लिविंग थिंग में फ़र्क किया. That was the first step of evolution when I realized that this glass is dead and I'm alive and I need to be very important. फिर दूसरी एक बहुत आम किताब मार्टिन बूबर की आई थी जिसका जिक्र हमने चैप्टर में किया, that is I and Thou. And then I realized that this person is not a non-living thing, but he's also alive. But he's not me. I mean, I can't call him as mantu shudam tu manshudi. I mean, he's a separate being. तो तारीख़ में इंसान अपनी शनाख्त ट्राइब से, मज़ाहिब से मुख्तलिफ़ तरह से लेता जाता है, लेकिन आफ्टर होब्स एंड रूसो एंड लॉक अब हम अपनी शनाख्त जो है किसी रियासत से मुस्तार लेते हैं. लाइक वी बोरो आवर आइडेंटिटी फ्रॉम अ रियासत, फ्रॉम अ कंट्री, फ्रॉम अ स्टेट. So when I look at the title of the book, National Security, it's so concerning to see, जो हमने इस किताब में बहुत ओपनली लिखा है, और मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि डॉक्टर नील ने जहाँ तक मेरे इल्म है कि उसको इस तरह एडिट नहीं किया कि कोई भी जदीद दौर या जेन ज़ी का बच्चा फेल्ड रियासत के नीचे खड़ा होने से शर्माएगा. सो हमने जो कि किताब में शामिल नहीं है, बयानुल मरसूस के बाद देखा कि लोग खुशी खुशी सी झंडे के नीचे शामिल हो रहे थे. लाइक मीन इट्स वेरी रेयर टू सी नदीम फ़रूक पराचा राइटिंग इन फेवर ऑफ आर्मी. दैट वाज द स्केरियस्ट थिंग टू लुक एट. मीन क्योंकि फतह के 100 बाब मीन ट्रॉय के हारे हुए भी जीते हुए ठहर गए थे. तो वो इतनी अहम बात है जो मैंने और डॉक्टर अनील ने कोशिश की है कि हम इस किताब का हिस्सा बनाएं कि कामयाब रियासतें बेशक थोड़ी घबराहट में हों, वो काबिल एतबार होती हैं, लोग उनके साथ जुड़ना चाहते हैं. और ये एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है. जब हम ग्रेट माइग्रेशन जो पिछले 3-4 सालों में हुई नौजवानों की, जब अभी आपकी हुकूमत नहीं आई थी, तो उसमें वो क्यों जाना चाहते थे इस रियासत से? वो इसलिए जाना चाहते थे, वो इस रियासत को अहम नहीं समझते. आई वुड नॉट लीव माई डाइंग मदर. बस पता चल गया कि सर ने मुझे पढ़ाया था कि माँ, रियासत माँ है, मैंने नहीं माना. सो हमने उस मिथ को भी देखने की कोशिश की है इकोनॉमिक लेंस से, और वो रियासत के लिए कितना ज़्यादा अहम है. अच्छा, ये तो होगी डायग्नोसिस. असल अब अगली बात है जो अभी भी नाश्ते पे जो डॉक्टर नील ने मुझे कराया, बताना बहुत आम था. उन्होंने कहा था आप बताइएगा, तब वो पे करेंगे. एंड आई डोंट नो व्हाई वी गिव सो सीरियस स्पीचेस एट टाइम. लाइक वी हैव टेकन ह्यूमर आउट ऑफ लाइफ, आउट ऑफ आई डोंट नो व्हाई. सो डॉक्टर नील ने उस वक्त भी मेरी एक बात के ऊपर फ़ौरन कहा जो मैंने किताब में शामिल किया है, और ये बहुत नॉन एकेडमिक आंसर है. वी आर नॉट ऑन नेटफ्लिक्स, वी आर नॉट ऑन नेशनल, वी आर नॉट ऑन इंटरनेशनल मीडिया, एंड वी आर नाउ वर्किंग टू मेक माई प्राइड समथिंग रियली टू लुक अप टू. यू नो, अरशद नदीम ने एक वो फेंका, एंड आपने देखा कि हमारी कौम फतह के लिए कितना बेताब थी. जस्ट, और मैंने बल्कि उसको, क्योंकि मुझे इकबाल बहुत पसंद है, तो मैंने उसे ज़रबे कलीम का नाम दिया था. मीन उसने ज़रबे कलीम, उसने भी लकड़ी का एक टुकड़ा ही फेंका, बट इट ब्रॉट बैक ऑल द नेशनल आइडेंटिटी. और फिर हमने देखा कि जब हम जंग में फतह याब हुए तो हालात इतने बुरे नहीं थे जितने हम समझे हुए हैं. तो हमने अपने इसमें 2-3 जवाबात दिए, बस मैं जल्दी से करके माजरत चाहूँगा. पहला तो ये बात है, इसके ऊपर तो मैं एज ए तालिब इल्म तय हूँ. रियासत हो या मुआशरा, ये हीरो वर्शिपिंग की जगह होती है. घर हो, हमारे पास एक हीरो होना चाहिए जिसको हम वर्शिप करें. मेरे पास कम अज़ कम है, मैं उसे इकबाल के नाम से पुकारता हूँ, और वो हमारी एक ऐसी शनाख्त है जो अभी 100 साल और भी चल सकते हैं. AI भी अभी उसको जंग आलूद नहीं करेगा. सो इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि हम, अभी डॉक्टर नील से बात हो रही थी और उन्होंने कहा कि खुरम हम अब इसके ऊपर कुछ करते हैं. इकबाल वॉज वेरी जेन जी माइंडेड पर्सन. यू नो, ही वॉज इंस्पायर्ड फ्रॉम नीत्शे, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट फिक्टे, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट मार्क्स, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट पटॉफी, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट शेक्सपियर. दिस इज व्हाट जेन जी पीपल टॉक अबाउट. और इस वक्त हम अपने समाज को एक ऐसा हीरो दे सकते हैं जो रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर जैसा रोमांटिसिस्ट नहीं है. वो बहुत जिंदा दिल है, वो सितारों से आगे जहान खोलना चाहता है, वो ज़मीन के और हिस्से दरियाफ्त करना चाहता है, वो गैर मजहबियों को मदाही कर सकता है, वो मार्क्स को कलीमे बेतजल्ली कह सकता है. दिस इज सच अ बिग आइडिया कि हम, जैसे जॉन नैश ब्यूटीफुल माइंड हमें बेच दिया गया था, वी कैन एक्चुअली वर्क आउट एंड ब्रिंग समवन रियली पावरफुल नोन एज इकबाल टू आवर कम्युनिटी. और उसको क्लब करने के लिए हमने कहा कि कॉन्टेम्प्रेरी स्टार्स, यानी एक वो सितारा जो बहुत पहले चमका था और एक सितारे जो अभी चमके हैं. तो इनसे मिलकर हम एक झड़ी बना सकते हैं, एक सेंटोरस सेंटोराई बना सकते हैं, जिसको देख के हमारे बच्चे महजूज होते रहें. और वो बेशक रियासत उस तरह फ़ौरन कामयाब ना हो रही हो, लेकिन वो उसी छाँव के नीचे खड़े होने को अपनी बहुत अहम बात समझें. तो इकबाल के शेर के साथ ख़त्म कि यही है मकसद, ये साकी नामा का बहुत मशहूर शेर है, यही है मकसद गर्दिश रोज़गार. तुम जानते हो कि पूरी कायनात के डार्क मैटर एंड एवरीथिंग, इसका ऐसे ऐसे क्यों घुमाया गया. लाइक व्हाई दिस यूनिवर्स एग्जिस्ट एट फर्स्ट प्लेस. इट्स अ वेरी हैवी यूनिवर्स बाय द वे. कायनात इतनी भारी है कि हम तसव्वुर भी नहीं कर सकते. अब ये सारा मकसद गर्दिश रोज़गार क्यों किया गया? लाइक ये अल्लाह ने सारी कहानी, ग्रेट स्टोरी टेलिंग क्यों की है? यही है मकसद गर्दिश रोज़गार. तेरी खुद ही हो तुझ पे आश्कार, तो खुद को पहचान ले तो वो सितारा जो लाखों दूर चमक रहा है उसका भी हक अदा हो जाएगा. So I'm really happy. My co-author, thank you for taking my picture. This was your right job, better than writing a book. Thank you, Minister, for taking our time. I was really impressed. You were right on time. I really had to see. I was glad. And Dr. Neil, thank you for trusting. It was a very odd, unorthodox, very philosophical topic. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Shafkat Angle. Thank you, everyone. Bahut shukriya.
Sir, thank you very much. Let's talk about the banking sector. A chapter authored by Zafar Masood Sahab, who is the president of Bank of Punjab and member of BOG IPRI, along with Saim Ali, chief economist, Bank of Punjab. Today we are fortunate to have Saim Ali, who came all the way along from Lahore. Sir, please.
Ji, thank you. So let me start by congratulating IPRI for this fantastic event and also this book. I think बड़ा relevant topic है considering the global events that are taking place. As Dr. Anil highlighted, the tariff wars which have come in and the climate events which are taking place. So I think it's a very relevant topic to bring in. Dr. Anil, thank you for letting us contribute towards this book. So on behalf of Zafar Masood Saab, who could not be here today, I want to talk a little bit about the banking industry. So firstly, the idea of economic security is one that we tried to Google and try to find the correct definitions. There are very few which are available. So it remains a vague concept, and I think there are very few countries, maybe a handful of countries, which can claim that they have achieved this economic security. Pakistan is definitely not one of them, right? Let's be honest. Currently, our per capita GDP stands about 30 to 40% below our regional competitors. So India, Bangladesh have incomes which are 30 to 40% higher than Pakistan today. And this was not the case if you look at the start of the century. By 2000, Pakistan had a higher per capita income versus these countries. So we are definitely falling behind. And if you look at some of the islands of success that Pakistan has achieved in the last 2 decades, the banking industry would probably be one of them, right? So we saw a very successful privatization drive in the 90s and then in the early 2000s. Banks today are one of the most profitable entities on the stock market. They are well capitalized, which means the state banks prescribe capital requirements. Out of 34 banks, 32 banks meet those requirements very, very comfortably. There are only 2 small banks which don't, the state banks' requirements are not being met by them. The banks are highly liquid in the sense that the capital that they've placed, the investments that they make, those are highly liquid. And in case of any economic events, the banks are able to quickly deploy that capital for requirements, whether it is government's borrowing or whether it is new investments. So the banks are well placed to achieve that. The banks are highly profitable. We've seen the results over the last 2-3 years. In fact, they're so profitable that the government has increased the income tax on banks to 54%. So success leads to that. And the non-performing loans, the bad assets on the banking sector are only 6%. This is not how the banking industry was 20 years ago. So we can say it's one of the success stories in Pakistan. And no country has achieved economic success or economic security without a very vibrant financial sector. So the banks in Pakistan are well placed to play that role. But we also understand the shortcomings. I mean, we are very honest about it. We know our deposit base is very, very low. In fact, our deposit base to GDP is one of the lowest in the world, lowest in one of the regions. India, Bangladesh have significantly higher deposit base. So that's an area where the banks have not done well. Lending to the private sector, right? That is the key to growth. That is the key to ensuring a vibrant private sector. Again, banks have fallen short. So our lending to the private sector is again one of the lowest in the world. So if you compare the kind of credit that banks in India, Bangladesh give to the private sector, we don't even compete. So again, that's an area where the banks have not done well, and there's room for investment. But more worryingly, there's been no new investment in the banking industry since 2008. That was the last time a major global international player entered the Pakistan's banking industry. So these are all shortcomings, and these are areas where focus needs to be done, and banks need to show significant improvement if they are to play a role in ensuring economic security in Pakistan. Why is this? Why are these shortcomings? What are the areas? So one, we know that we have a very large informal economy, right? In Pakistan, our cash in circulation accounts for around 26 to 27% of our money supply, which is abnormally very, very high. I mean, most countries you see the ratio at 5-6%. So we have a very large informal economy. We don't like to pay taxes. We don't like to declare our income. And to be fair, most of the players are very, very small and rural in nature. So for them, getting access to finance is a challenge. But also, the taxation regime in Pakistan is a key factor why people don't want to declare their incomes, right? Because of the fear that FPR will come and start taking more tax from them. The other main reason is the size of the government's deficits. All of it in the last 2 years, 95% of all government borrowing was done through the domestic banking industry. 95%, right? Which is not sustainable. So if the government is taking all the money away, how exactly will the private sector get lending from the banks? So that's a huge challenge. It's not a challenge which has come up in the last 1 or 2 years. It's a last decade or so. Since the 2008 financial crisis, we have seen that the share of government borrowing in the bank, on the banking books has grown to 70%. So 70% of all lending today by banks is to the government. It was 35% in 2008. So massive jump in the borrowing needs of the government. And they're so massive that the total deposits in the banking industry are not enough to meet the demand of the government. So we see the central bank has to inject more money into the markets. So the size of the open market operations today stand at around 13 trillion rupees. So that is the difference between what the government needs to borrow and what the banks can provide them, and that is the gap. So that is the other main issue. The most worrying one is the low trade and investment flows into Pakistan. For decades, last 70 years in fact, Pakistan has missed the train, right? We have, our exports to GDP is 9%, 9 to 10%. one of the lowest in the world. We don't export enough. Investments, it is less than 1% of GDP. So we're not even competing with our regional competitors in these spaces. So if you look at the global banks, the reason why they have been successful in scaling up, becoming so big, is because of the trade and investment flows. So the banks in Singapore, the main reason is exactly that. So what needs to be done? I'll just wrap it up. So what needs to be done? One is regulations. The central bank regulations need to be overhauled. We need to be more integrated with the global economy. We need to be more integrated in the global trade and investment flows. Number two, what needs to happen is adoption of digitization. That's the only way we will be able to reach out to the rural communities, the unbanked communities, and you'll be happy to know that 70 to 80% of all investments currently being done by the banking industry is within that space. And I'll encourage you all to look at some of the programs that the Bank of Punjab has launched in the last 1 year, along with the Punjab government. Some of them are very special, and they look at exactly the space. So thank you. With that, I'll stop here.
Sir, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays everyone talks about the cryptocurrency. But what is the linkage of cryptocurrency with economic security and national security? To shed light on this aspect, I will now call our public policy expert, Syed Murtaza Abbas, to share his views. Sir.
So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, मुझे पहले ही पर्ची दे दी है सर टाइम इनके लिए. Thank you, Ji. Thank you very much. First of all, I am truly honored, sir. Thank you for having me here, Dr. Salman, sir, the chief guest. बहुत सारी बात हो चुकी है. Khurram said a lot about spirits, nationalism, cyber security, banking sector. I won't take much of your time, but क्योंकि आजकल सिर्फ cryptocurrency की बात हो रही है और अब this is the new wave. You talked about technology. The chapter, I'm very honored कि sir ने मुझे मौका दिया अपने साथ काम करने का. The chapter we wrote about cryptocurrencies is एक चीज़ समझ लीजिए कि कोई भी प्रोडक्ट, कोई भी निज़ाम, कोई भी चीज़, कोई भी फ़लसफ़ा किसी चीज़ में ढालना होता है जिसको हम कहते हैं इकोसिस्टम. आप लोग पॉलिसी एक्सपर्ट्स हो, एक बात आप मानो, पॉलिसीज हम बनाते हैं वो सिस्टम लैक कर जाता है जहां उसने काम करना होता है. सो व्हाट वी ट्राइड टू कवर द ecosystem of the cryptocurrencies which is required, like the crypto exchanges, the crypto bots, the analytical tools, the right authentic information sharing from the forums which are recognized by governments, right? आप बिलीव करो, आज आप सर आप जाइए क्रिप्टो करेंसी के किसी भी यूट्यूब चैनल पे जाइए, आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलेगी, मगर वो सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन इन्फ्लुएंसर्स की दी हुई है. You won't be able to find authentic people talking about this topic. So we being academicians, you being practitioners, we all agree कि सर किसी टॉपिक पे उसी को बात करनी चाहिए जो उस फील्ड से रेलेवेंट हो. सो व्हाट वाज प्रीफर्ड कि हमने इसको क्रिप्टो का एक इकोसिस्टम इसमें डिफाइन किया. दूसरा व्हाट वी डिस्कस्ड इज एज एन इन्वेस्टर, एवरीबडी वांट्स टू टॉक अबाउट मनी. वी हैव अ बैंकर हियर, सर यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मनी. सो अगर आपको पैसा कमाना है, वी नीड टू नो कि ये पैसा बनता कैसे है, और ये बनता कैसे है इसके लिए आपको पता होना चाहिए कि अपॉर्चुनिटी कहाँ लाए कर रही है. सो इन द क्रिप्टो स्पेस there's a lot of opportunity. However, be very careful because when we are talking about cryptocurrency, it gives you an opportunity to invest through fractionalization. You know, you don't need tons of money to become part of crypto exchange. You can start off very small. So this is a very big advantage, and from the financial inclusion perspective, anyone with a smaller amount of money can be a part of it. Second thing, it's very liquid, sir. Although its market cap is not that great, but it's very liquid. It is very easy for you to enter and exit the market, which is not readily available in the conventional financial markets. So this is another opportunity for the investors, which we have discussed. But at the same time, it comes with certain challenges as well. Basit is here, और Basit क्योंकि इकोनॉमिस्ट हैं और डॉक्टर साहब भी इकोनॉमिस्ट हैं, आप दोनों का पसंदीदा टॉपिक होता है प्राइस डिस्कवरी. how to say that this coin worth $10. This is the biggest challenge in the crypto space right now, that you are not able to figure it out except for the demand and supply phenomena. So we have discussed this about a little bit about this. Then it's very volatile. People know very less about it. The fluctuations are too much that a normal investor will not be able to survive the crypto volatility. Then sir, एक चीज जो बहुत आजकल चल रही है after the 26th amendment, which is a very important part of our chapter, is about the Sharia observations. अगर हम 26th amendment के बाद 2027 के अंदर पूरे सिस्टम को शरिया कंप्लाइंट लेके जा रहे हैं, तो क्या क्रिप्टो शरिया कंप्लाइंट स्पेस में फिट होगा? हम करेंगे। ये हम क्यों करेंगे? ये मैं इसलिए नहीं कह रहा कि हम करेंगे, हम इसलिए करेंगे बिकॉज वी नीड टू मूव फॉरवर्ड। अगर इज्तिहाद का कॉन्सेप्ट दीन में मौजूद है, आने वाले मसाइल का हल कुरान में मौजूद है, तो उसमें एक कॉन्सेप्ट हमने डिस्कस किया है गरर का, बिकॉज यू नो इस्लाम प्रोहिबिट्स एनीथिंग विच क्रिएट्स गरर, बेअल गरर होता है जिसमें अनसर्टेनिटी होती है. सो व्हाट इफ वी ट्राई टू मैनेज दैट uncertainty factor, then we can certainly accommodate it. Islam says you cannot sell a product which is not in your possession or in your ownership. Okay, let's find a constructive possession for things जिसको हम बेच सकते हैं. Future contracts is a good example. So we can work on it. तो हमने इसको टच किया कि इसको आप कैसे कर सकते हैं. एंड एक और पर्सपेक्टिव जो बहुत अहम है वो हमारे रेगुलेटर्स हैं, बैंकर्स हैं, स्टेट बैंक है, SECP है, FBR है, आप गवर्नमेंट. आपके जहन में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ क्या होती है? आपकी आवाम. रेगुलेटर के जहन में होता है इन्वेस्टर प्रोटेक्शन. So when we talk about crypto or about any financial product, we need to know कि यार हमारा इन्वेस्टर सेफ होगा कि नहीं होगा. अगर वो नहीं होगा, it's going to be a big scam. सर लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, जो हमने कुछ रिकमेंडेशंस अपने चैप्टर में दी हैं, वो उसमें एक है कि पॉलिसी जो रेगुलेटरी सैंड बॉक्स में टेस्टिंग कर लें इस प्रोडक्ट की बिफोर वी गो पब्लिक. लेट्स ट्राई इन अ कंट्रोल्ड एनवायरनमेंट. इफ इट वर्क्स वेल देन ग्रेजुअली वी कैन ईज आउट थिंग्स एंड लेट पीपल इन. ये हमने एक इसमें रिकमेंडेशन दी है. देन जो हमारी रेगुलेटर की एक टिपिकल अप्रोच होती है, दैट इज रूल बेस्ड अप्रोच, दैट we establish rules, regulations, and we ask people to follow them. But we are suggesting that for this crypto space particularly, you need to change the approach from rules to principle-based approach. Rules are procedurals, whereas the principle-based approach is outcome-based approach. So initially, we need to formalize structures which are principle-based, focusing on the outcomes and less on the procedures and the rules. And if anyone has ever worked with any venture capital, I think to start with, they are the right people to get in. Before we recommend anything to general public or to other institutions, I think venture capitalists are the right people who can contribute in making this product a success. If they become successful, we can safely go and offer it to public. So thank you once again. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your time and patience. And sir, humbled to be part of your team. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. Now, before requesting our chief guest, Rana Ehsan Afzal Saab, for his address, I would like to introduce him to the audience. Rana Ehsan Afzal Khan, coordinator to the Prime Minister on Commerce and Industry, is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in business, industry, and policy making. He has held leadership roles such as chairman of All Pakistan Chipboard Manufacturer Association and board member of FESCO, and has worked closely with Chamber of Commerce and Government Economic Team. In his current role, he contributes to formulating and implementing policies that strengthen trade, industrial growth, and economic stability. Sir, the floor is yours, please.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. President IPRI, General Majid Ehsan Saab, intellectuals, members from the civil society, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I'm honored to be invited here today for the launching of Economy, the backbone of national security, and to talk with you and listen to these ideas which have been shared. देखें, पाकिस्तान का जो सबसे बुनियादी जो इशू रहा है इकोनॉमी के अगर हवाले से हम बात करें तो वो ये है कि हम कभी भी किसी भी ईरा के अंदर वी हैव नॉट हैड अ ग्रोथ विच वाज सस्टेनेबल एंड कंटिन्यूड, और हमेशा बूम बस्ट साइकिल के अंदर हम फंसे रहें. और ये हमने बहुत दफ़ा देखा है कि हमने 5-6% ग्रोथ का लेवल अचीव किया है, and then we end up with a huge current account deficit. And then we have to go to multilateral agencies for dollars and go around the world. And recently we've started borrowing money, dollars from our friends as well. और फिर एक स्टेबिलिटी का फेज आता है, और फिर से एक ग्रोथ का फेज आता है, और फिर से वो साइकिल रिपीट होता है. एंड there is a it's not a coincidence that it has been happening. There is a reason, rationale why it has happened. क्योंकि जितनी भी हुकूमतें आती हैं, शुरू में वो स्टेबिलिटी की तरफ जाती हैं, and towards the end they are the logic and the research is hijacked by populism. And populist decisions जो हैं वो फिर इकोनॉमिक डिसीजंस को हाईजैक कर जाती हैं. और इसीलिए ये जो बुक लॉन्चिंग है, इकोनॉमी बैकबोन ऑफ नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, दिस डिबेट on economy is very important because the people of Pakistan need to know what decisions are good for them. And the fact that when we say that we are going to give free electricity or discounted electricity or सस्ती गैस, और जब डिबेट जो है हमारी पेट्रोल की प्राइसेस के ऊपर होती है, तो फिर जो रैशनल, जो असल डिसीजन है, जो रिसर्च है, जो होना चाहिए वो नहीं होता. एंड ईच गवर्नमेंट फॉल्स इन द ट्रैप, एंड देयर इज अ रेस टू गिव सब्सिडीज, देयर इज अ रेस टू फॉलो द पॉपुलिस्ट डिसीजंस, एंड दैट इज where we have ended. So for that, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Anil Salman Saab, Dr. Steve Raymond Saab, Rex Moser, and all the authors who've contributed to this book, because people need to understand the decisions that are good for them. People need to understand how the economy works. And this message needs to be spread all across Pakistan. For the policymakers, and policymakers से भी जब आप बात करते हैं तो lot of them don't know what is good, and they feel कि हमें जब चीज़ें सस्ती कर देनी चाहिए, और सारी डिबेट जो है वो उसी के इर्द गिर्द जो है वो घूमती रहती है. So we've had over 24 IMF programs, and we haven't, और सारे जो हैं they were left in between, not completed, and we moved forward. तो अभी देखें कि it is almost the 3rd year that we are in an IMF regime, and we're trying to रिवर्स द डैमेज जो हमने सर्कुलर डेट एक्यूमुलेट किया पावर सेक्टर में, जो हमने सर्कुलर डेट एक्यूमुलेट किया गैस सेक्टर में, क्योंकि हमने सस्ती बिजली देनी थी, क्योंकि हमने सस्ती गैस देनी थी. तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो हैं वे ट्राइंग कि अब हम प्राइमरी सरप्लस में हों. फिस्कल डिसिप्लिन आप जो है वो यू ट्राइंग टू इम्प्लीमेंट दैट, एंड इट्स नॉट ईजी, इट्स पेनफुल फॉर द पीपल. प्राइसेस हैव इंक्रीज ट्रेमेंडसली. तो जहाँ हम लोग क्लेम करते हैं और राइटली क्लेम करते हैं, and it is a remarkable achievement that we have brought inflation down, the interest rates are coming down, the reserves are building, overall there is, the economic activity is picking up, but this we've seen before. So moving from this to a growth rate of 4, 5, 6% and not collapsing is the challenge for us. और जब नेशनल सिक्योरिटी की बात आती है तो इसमें कोई शक नहीं है कि आपकी जो पॉपुलेशन की जो हेल्थ है, दैट डिफाइंस नेशनल सिक्योरिटी. जो पॉपुलेशन का जो एजुकेशन स्टैंडर्ड है, दैट डिफाइंस नेशनल सिक्योरिटी. इट इज़ द नेशनल कोहेजन, द इकोनॉमिक इंक्लूजन, दैट डिफाइंस नेशनल सिक्योरिटी. और अगर हम डिफेंस टर्म्स में बात करें तो जब तक आपकी इकोनॉमी बैक नहीं करेगी डिफेंस को भी, अब इसकी मैं मिसाल देता हूँ कि $11 बिलियन का बजट था डिफेंस का इन 2017-18. नाउ वेर अराउंड $6-7 बिलियन. हमारी करेंसी डीवैल्यू होती रही है, बिला तरजीह डीवैल्यू होती रही है, एंड इट इज़ बिकॉज कि हम इकोनॉमी का जो स्ट्रक्चर है हमारा, इट इज़ कंजम्पशन बेस्ड, इट इज़ इम्पोर्ट लेड, एंड वी हैव बीन अनएबल टू इंक्रीज our exports over these 76 years. और अब जब हम कॉमर्स में बैठते हैं तो हम बहुत सारी रिफॉर्म्स लेके आ रहे हैं, बहुत सारी कोशिशें कर रहे हैं, लेकिन चैलेंजेस क्या हैं फॉर एक्सपोर्ट्स टू इन्हांस. आपकी लॉजिस्टिक्स जो हैं, वी आर डूइंग 97% कार्गो वाया इंजन पुलिंग अ कंटेनर. आपकी जो है वो रेलवे कार्गो एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करती, 2-3%. सो ये एकदम से तो नहीं हुआ. It has been the continuity of bad policy which has led us where we are, and to reverse it, it is a mountain, but it is doable. जब हम बात करते हैं इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्राइसिंग की, तो हमें मैन्युफैक्चरर्स कहते हैं कि हम रीजनली इनकम्पेटिटिव हैं. हाउ डू वी कम्पीट? गैस प्राइसेस में आप इनकम्पेटिटिव हैं. आपकी जो टैक्स रजीम है, द पॉलिसी हैज़ बीन टू कीप ऑन इंक्रीजिंग द टैक्स रेट. और फिर उससे इट इज़ अ रेवेन्यू लेड टैक्स पॉलिसी दैट वी हैव बीन फॉलोइंग. इसी तरह जो आप ओवरऑल देखें, जो ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस हैं, उसमें चैलेंजेस हैं. सो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मैं समझता हूँ कि वी आर ऑन द राइट ट्रैक. स्टेबिलिटी हैज़ बीन अचीव्ड एंड वी नो दैट वी कैनॉट डू पैच वर्क. वी कैनॉट डू medium term, short term policy interventions just to give a growth which is consumption led and then again fall into that trap. And our Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has ensured कि वो जो right interventions हैं वो हम करें. तो FBR की अगर reforms की बात करें, digitization की बात हो रही थी, we are heading towards that. We know that दो issues हैं ना. एक तो tax base आपने बढ़ाना है. आपका जो नॉन फाइलर वाला कॉन्सेप्ट है उसको हम टाइटनिंग देम अप, और उसको फिर होपफुली इन दिस टेन्योर वी विल फिनिश इट. और इसी तरह आपने जो है इवेजन को ख़त्म करना है. सो वी हैव टू इक्विप FBR एंड वी आर डूइंग दैट. वी आर इक्विपिंग देम, वी आर वर्किंग विद देम एंड वी आर इन्वॉल्विंग इसी. सो FBR रिफॉर्म इज वन थिंग. सो अगर हम बात करें हमारी जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और इंडस्ट्री की पॉलिसी रही है, इट हैज़ बीन इम्पोर्ट सब्सटीट्यूशन. हमने हमेशा, अगर हम टेक्सटाइल की बात करें, और ये बड़ी रेलिवेंट एग्जाम्पल है कि बांग्लादेश डिड नॉट ग्रो कॉटन, येट बांग्लादेश टेक्सटाइल एक्सपोर्ट्स आर ग्रेटर देन अस. तो हमारे पास कॉटन थी, तो हमें जो है वो स्पिनर्स और वो उसी के अंदर हम फंसे रहे. सो द पॉलिसी वॉज टू गिव प्रोटेक्शन टू स्पिनर्स, टू गिव प्रोटेक्शन टू क्लॉथ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, और वैल्यू एडेड की तरफ हम नहीं गए. और जो हमारे टैरिफ्स थे वो प्रोटेक्शन देते थे इस इम्पोर्ट सब्सटीट्यूशन को. सो नाउ वी हैव अनाउंस्ड अ टैरिफ लिबरलाइजेशन पॉलिसी एंड वी आर गोइंग टू get rid of the RD systems. RDs will go away in 4 years. Our ACDs will go away in 4 years. The custom duties will only be a maximum of 15% and will be 4 slabs. So we've taken this bold step that we have to no longer follow the import substitution policy and go for an ecosystem which allows exporters, so the intermediary goods, the raw materials become cheaper and there is value addition. इसी तरह हम कहते हैं FDI नहीं आती, इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं आती. देखें, जिस तरह आप बता रहे थे कि हमारा जो सेविंग रेट है वो बहुत नीचे है. ऑब्वियसली जब सेविंग नहीं होगी तो इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं होगी. तो हमने, और जहाँ हमारी जो मूडीज़ और फिच हमें CAAA नेगेटिव पे रेट करेगी, तो कैसे इन्वेस्टमेंट आएगी? तो हमें इस पूरे माहौल को तब्दील करना है, तो तभी इन्वेस्टमेंट आएगी ना. व्हेन पीपल, इन्वेस्टर विल सी एनवायरनमेंट जहाँ पॉलिसी कंटिन्यूटी है, जहाँ आपका जो है स्टेबिलिटी है, तो वहाँ फिर इन्वेस्टमेंट आएगी. तो हम इन्वेस्टमेंट के जितना पीछे भागें, वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू ब्रिंग इट इन. सो वी हैव टू गिव अ निज़ाम वेयर ही फील्स कंफर्टेबल. और फिर जब हमारा लोकल इन्वेस्टर खुश होगा तो FDI भी जो है वो खुद आ जाएगी. तो हम प्राइवेटाइजेशन के ऊपर we think that government has no business of doing business. So we're trying and it's not easy क्योंकि आपके जो local आपका जो industrialist है उसकी appetite, फिर आपका जो मैंने आपको FDI का पहले ही बता दिया challenges, but we're still moving ahead. तो ये इसी तरह right sizing की reforms जो हैं they are on way. PSDP के हवाले से हमने अब देखा है कि the development has transferred to the provinces, but it has yet to transfer to the district levels. And I, at least, am a proponent that we need local bodies, and we need a robust local bodies mechanism which is continuous, sustainable, and which is financially enabled. So until unless we do that, the development is not going. So we, as a government, are focused towards these reforms, और इंशाल्लाह ताला ये इतना मुश्किल नहीं है जितना हमें लगता है, क्योंकि जब आप हर सेक्टर के ऊपर राइट रिफॉर्म्स लेके आएंगे, जो हमने कोशिश की है उड़ान पाकिस्तान के अंदर, एंड द चैलेंजेस आर ह्यूज, बट व्हेन एवरी collectively we pitch in, the snowball effect will happen. And for countries who are behind as we are on many subjects and many issues, catching up you know, if the policy direction is right, if the overall things start improving, then we can catch up very quickly. So Pakistan, again, has a huge potential. We can come over these challenges very quickly, and this government is focused towards reform, real reform. And once again, I would like to congratulate everyone who has contributed to this book, and I feel that this debate should continue. We have to tell people what is right for them, and people need to understand what policy is right for them. Giving cheap petrol is not right for them. Giving cheaper electricity prices, which are, you know, financed by loans and subsidies, which have no financial closure, are not right for them. So this book will enable that debate. And thank you so much, IPRI, for providing this platform. You're doing a great job. And once again, I'm honored to be here. Pakistan, Zindabad. Very kind. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. Now I request President IPRI, Lieutenant General Majid Ehsan, and editor and author of the book, Dr. Anil Salman, to present the book and memento to our chief guest. Sir, please. This brings us the conclusion of today's event.